Peace, family. This is Divine coming to you guys. All right, so let's just get real into it real quick. I want to talk about dreams, right? And then don't mind me. I am actually on my way to work, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to jump on here and let's talk about dreams. So what I want to talk about dreams is the fact that when we dream, are we interpreting our dreams accurately and correctly? And I think only we would know that, right? Because everything in our dream is symbology. It's symbolic for something. I think I'm gonna go to Target real quick. I'm trying to look for like a stand for my phone, or like a holder for my phone. Okay, so I want to talk about dreams in the aspect of dreams versus memories. And I'm gonna actually title this Dreams versus Memories. So yeah, that would be the title. So the subject and topic on point is gonna be dreams versus memories, right? I've noticed a common thread or a commonality when we're dreaming versus having a memory. Okay. Now, I want to ask, and you obviously, if you are in resonance to this topic or have something to comment, go ahead and leave it down below. I'd be more than happy to go ahead and make a part 2. Look at the number 13 on a bus. That's good. I've been seeing a lot of 13s lately. So if you can understand what I'm saying, great. I'm going to try and break this down as best as possible. So dreams versus memories. Have you ever noticed that when you dream certain dreams, you can feel how you feel in that dream? You can feel panic. You can feel shame. You can feel certain things. You can feel certain things, right? Memories are always associated to feelings. This is how we should start interpreting our dreams. Memories are always associated to a feeling. When you think of, man, when was the last time I was happy? A memory pops up. Okay, this is an association to dreams, family. So I'm gonna actually start something new. It's called Space Talks, right? Because space, and just space, period, there is always information being transferred in space. Whether in a space that we occupy, in a space that we don't occupy, like, it's really ether, right? We could call this ether talks or space talks, right? Either way, we're gonna probably call this ether talks. Ether talks or space talks 101, whatever. But this is why I want to speak on dreams, because this is a space, right, that is communicating something. What space are we in? Are we in our mental body, which is a space? Are we in our emotional body? Are we in our spiritual body? I'll give you 3 examples of all 3, and this is just, how I'm understanding or how I've been breaking things down. So this is my perspective, but I will say that anytime you have a memory, it is going to be coming from your emotional body. will give you an example because I've had this happen, but we don't realize that not all dreams are equal and not all dreams are the same. The things that, so how I've noticed is that every dream is not the same based off of the dream and how you feel that dream. Like if you have a dream that you're going into McDonald's and you know they gave you the wrong order and you were pissed and you threw it at the whatever, and then I don't know, something random, right? When you wake up, ask yourself if you really had a lucidity based off of the feeling of anger, or was it just a dream where you didn't feel anything when you woke up? That's kind of like the best way for me to associate that, right? Like, was it a dream that you were like, oh yeah, I was just at McDonald's and threw freaking my bogus order at somebody's face because they got my order wrong? Well, maybe it's the fact that you have, like, on your mind, it's like people are always getting my order wrong, you know? And so in your mind, you're like, I wish that I could do something about it. So in your dream, you actually do something about it and you throw it back at them for getting it wrong. You know, that would be, to me, considered a mental dream, a mental body association, right? Sorry, y'all, just 1 minute. So that would be a mental body association. Now, the difference, oh, okay, we're just gonna act like we're parking to not park. A memory would be something that you wake up from, that it's not just on your mind, but it's like you have this feeling. All right, well, I'm gonna go. You have this feeling. A lot of the times when I have memories that come through in forms of dreams, because these are some of the ways that we can associate, or, you know, we can remember ourselves, is through basically what I would call an opportunity. An opportunity is an opportunity where you have the chance, or, you know, where you have the space to remember, right? To like bring a feeling up that's probably in your emotional body. And if you've noticed, when people talk about whether like trauma, right? So like shame, guilt, anger, you know, all of that, these are all suppressions of something. And where does that go? It goes and it suppresses itself within your emotional body, right? But your emotional body, so it leaves the impression, right, to impress. And sometimes like, saying like impressions are everything. Well, there's like a deeper esoteric understanding that to impress is to press in, right? So if we're pushing this trauma into our emotional body, then what we actually do is we suppress it in our actual body, because as without, so within, as within, so without. It's that universal law. So anyways, you'll see that the feeling that you get from a memory is very, very, very different. Like, usually memories are way more lucid. When you have a dream that's actually a memory, it's more lucid. You can associate the dream to like a feeling, right? Like, man, I woke up and I was like like sweating because I was like running for my life. I almost got caught by, you know, whoever. And this is a this is a feeling that, you know, like it's always going to be a difference. Like memories, I feel memories always, for me at this point, I'm still speaking from my perspective, but for me, memories, they always have a stronger association to lucidity, to like lucid dreaming. But it's the fact that I can tell the difference. And I can tell the difference based off of when I wake up, what are the things that I feel, and how I start to understand. And kind of like I it's almost like I wake up knowing, okay, this is an actual like feeling. Like this is not like something that was on my mind, you know? Like let's say you have a dream that you're no, that's a bad one. Let's say you have a dream that you're gonna win $1 million, right? That's more like something that's on your mind, right? Let's say you have a dream that you haven't been really like showing up for work, and you have a dream that you're gonna lose your job. That could be a possibility, but that's more something that's on your mind. It's not something that like that's a memory, you know? So notice the difference in like current to something that has never happened in this lifetime. So for me, I had a memory that came up, and I knew that it was a memory right away, which kind of triggered a lot of the, you know, the things that I'm going through now. So I wanted to just kind of briefly speak on memories and their associations to feelings, which goes back to the trauma, right? So like the memory that I had come up was based off of an ex. And quite frankly, the ex is my ex-husband from this lifetime. But the memory that I had was in another lifetime. I actually had unalived him, and it was based off of the fact that it was a thin line between self-defense and rage. And the rage was based off of his constant abusive nature, right? So he was naturally abusive, not just in the last lifetime, but in this lifetime as well. And what I realized was there were incidences that kept occurring in this lifetime when we were together, and it kept going back to the same semi situation of unaliving, right? Like him almost being unalived. I won't get too much into detail with that because that's very personal, but what I will say was that I saw that there was a correlation, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a memory, because I felt that there was a thin line of, well, I have in my memory from a previous life, this was stored in my emotional body, right? What was stored in my emotional body was the fact that I end up unaliving somebody in a previous lifetime, which was the same person that I attracted in this lifetime. And what ended up happening in my previous lifetime, which is this memory I'm speaking of, is that I wouldn't even say accidentally, to me it's a thin line between accident and knowing that if I like allow this to happen, he he could literally be unalived. And there's a trigger point, right? So there's a trigger point when you are just done being abused, and the trigger point is overcoming that abuser. Now, some people might be like, oh, it's best to just walk away. That might not always be the case based off of our ancestors and how they influence us, right? So that is another aspect. One of my ancestors, I won't speak too much about it, but this was a memory that I had embodied this ancestor, and this ancestor was done being abused. So this ancestor stood up for herself, but in the way where all of this rage started bubbling up to the surface, where in my memory I didn't care whether he could make it out or not. It was just not something that I cared for, because of all of the pain that was bubbling up as rage, right? So it can be complex at times, but the whole thing about dreams is that it's always there to show you something. So I specifically wanted to talk about the memories and how you will definitely feel it's a feeling, right? Some people may not just be that subconsciously aware that the dream that they have is more like a mental dream versus a memory. Like, if you were to look up symbology, right, like symbolism in certain dreams, like let's say your teeth fall out, right, in your dream, well, that's more like a mental thing. Like, okay, my mental body is trying to speak to me in this way, and the symbology of it, in order for me to speak to me, is through symbology. Or I'm sorry, the way for it speaking to me is through symbology. So therefore, let me look up what losing teeth means. Okay, that's more of a mental. Now, spiritual, to me, this is how I think of it, because spiritual body is always, I'm not going to say is always, but the spiritual body, when it kind of, the way that I've noticed, it is what would feel like a mission, right? Anytime that I've had a spiritual body memory, and I feel like these are kind of like memories as well, they come in like a collective, right? Like I'm always doing something for a collective, like whether it's a collective of women and children, or just children. That's how I know the difference between like a spiritual body memory or dream, right? But we're literally just traveling within ourselves, so let's not get lost, okay? Because traveling within ourselves is literally traveling within our bodies, but it's also like traveling in different timelines, if you want to say that. Like all of the different possibilities of self, you're doing that as well. But yeah, so basically, memories are associated to emotions, right? This is why when we end up having an idea, when was the last time we had fun, we could literally recall that energy of bliss or excitement or joy to a memory, and then we'll be like, oh yeah, it was on this day. But you see how we associated an event with an emotion? So always keep that in mind when you are, or we as a collective are breaking down dreams versus memories. This is kind of a way for you to start tapping in to dreams versus memories. And mem, this is kind of like I'm doing this. Mem is associated to water. So water is going to be your conduit, right? Water holds memory. See if there's a difference between when you drink more water and you're more hydrated one day versus not drinking a lot of water another day. You know, some of us are we need to be more hydrated than others. I think personally depends on what element you're really working with. Like for me, I'm a fire element, so I feel like I have to be more hydrated than possibly other people, while I know that some people who are air elements, they might have more of an easier time. And I think water elements probably have the easiest to dream, you know. But I would definitely say most likely water and earth, we might have to keep ourselves more hydrated. Fire and earth might have to keep themselves more hydrated, because if earth absorbs water, you always have that knowing or understanding just in the life that the soil has to be hydrated eventually, or what happens is that it dries out, right? So earth can't sustain itself without water. Basically fire, you know, literally turns water into steam. So like, these are just kind of like esoteric understandings based off of your zodiac or your element. And I was, you know, this is why I'm kind of associating back to that. Maybe this could just also be another way to kind of balance that out based off of your zodiac. But anyways, I think that's enough. 20 minutes in. So yeah, dreams versus memories. Memories will always seem more lucid. And if you have very lucid dreams that are mental, then watch what you hyper focus on in your dreams that are more mental, like a mental dream, and see what you hyper focus on, because a lot of those times the mental dreams, they're gonna be like things that you kind of like don't do in the life, you know what I'm saying? While an emotional dream or like a memory based off of like maybe a suppressed emotion or like an impression of like an unresolved memory or just memories from the past will come in, and it'll be kind of like a real life circumstance. It's not always the case, but most of the time it is. It's like a real life circumstance, and everything about it is just real, you know? Like, you can see the difference. When you hyper focus on, let's say, things in a mental dream, then what I would say is look that up and try to get the understanding or significance or meaning behind whatever it is you're hyper focusing on. So like, let's say I have I don't know, like I have a shoe in my hand and then I have a water bottle, but I pour the water in the shoe. You know what I'm saying? Like water bottle, shoe, you know, these are not something that you would do every day, but it's the symbology of that. So like, that's what you would have to associate for a mental dream. The difference between a mental dream and a spiritual dream. The spiritual dream for me always kind of looks like it's working with a collective for something of the better. That's not always the case though, but this is just how I've realized this, you know, like what a spiritual dream really feels like is always like you're on a mission. And the mission is kind of like helping a collective body of something, right? And that's probably the best way. Like, it's like you're helping a collective of a body, okay? So a body could literally mean like a body of women, meaning like you're helping the collective of women, right? You're helping the collective, the collective feminine. You're helping the collective children, right? That's how I associate it. But yeah, peace out.